In the world of real estate, there's this one promise that sounds absolutely amazing, but it can actually turn into a complete nightmare. Today, we're going to break down the single most expensive promise you can possibly hear when you're selling your home.
It sounds totally backward, doesn't it? I mean, you're selling your house. Of course you want the highest price. But what if I told you that gunning for the highest listing price could actually mean you walk away with less money in your pocket? That is the big central question we are unpacking today.
All right, so let's just look this promise right in the eye. You've got an agent telling you they can get a price way, way higher than anyone else. And it feels good, right? It feels like finally someone who sees what my home is really worth. But is that real confidence, or is it maybe just a strategy to get you to sign on the dotted line? Look, selling a home is deeply personal. For most of us, it's our biggest financial asset, and it's just packed with memories. So that emotional attachment, plus all the excitement of a potential huge payday, well, it can make it really, really easy to get swayed by someone telling you exactly what you want to hear. And that's when a solid, clear strategy can just get totally lost. And this slide, man, it lays out the core problem perfectly. The promise, I can get you the highest price, it sounds like the only path to take. But the reality, and this is backed up by tons of data, is that overpricing your home often means it sits on the market longer and, ironically, sells for less. And it all comes down to a really specific market dynamic. And that dynamic, yeah, that's what we call the stale listing trap. This is, without a doubt, the number one danger of overpricing. It's this psychological trap that completely changes how every single potential buyer looks at your home. Okay, to really get this trap, you've got to know this one key term, DOM, or days on market. This number is totally public. Every buyer, every agent, they can see it right there on Zillow, on the MLS. Think of it like a ticking clock that starts the second your home goes up for sale. And this is the number that matters, 30. Once your home's days on market ticks past that 30-day mark, a kind of stigma starts to form around it. In today's fast-moving real estate market, a month can feel like forever. And buyers, well, they start to wonder. This right here shows you exactly what's happening inside a buyer's head. When a listing is fresh in those first few weeks, there's excitement, there's urgency. That's when you get bidding wars. But after 30 days, the question shifts from, wow, how can I get this house, to, what's wrong with it? That excitement just evaporates and gets replaced by suspicion. And that's when the lowball offers start rolling in, because buyers feel like they've got all the leverage. Okay, so if overpricing is the big trap, how in the world do you avoid it and still come out on top? Well, the answer is all about having a proactive strategy. It's about pricing your home not just to sell, but to create a frenzy. And this whole strategy really just boils down to 3 clear, simple steps. We move from hard data to how technology works, and finally to human psychology. Let's see how they all work together. Step 1 is all about the data. But listen, not just any data. We're talking about a hyper-local analysis. The market changes so fast, so we're only looking at what's actually sold in the last 60 days. And we keep the area tight. Within a 1-mile radius is the goal. This isn't about what your neighbor's house sold for a year ago. It's about what a real buyer is willing to pay for a home just like yours, right here, right now. Step 2 is super important because it's all about how people actually shop for homes these days online. Just look at this table. If a buyer sets their maximum search price at $600,000 and your home is listed at $605,000, it's literally invisible to them. They will never see it. But by pricing it just under that line at $599,900, you suddenly show up for that entire group of buyers. It's such a small change, but it has a massive, massive impact on how many people see your home. And all of that, it leads to the final and honestly the most exciting part, creating a frenzy. When you use that hyperlocal data to find the true market value, and then you price it smart to get seen by the most people online, you attract a huge pool of interested buyers. And what happens when a bunch of people all want the same thing? Competition. That competition is what naturally pushes the final sale price up, a lot of times way past what you even listed it for. You're letting the market tell you what your home is really worth. So that all sounds good in theory, right? But does this stuff actually work in the real world? Let's take a look at a real-life example of this in action. Okay, so we had a seller, and their dream number, their goal was to list their home for $650,000. And hey, you can't blame them, right? It's an emotional process, and that's the number they hoped to see. But After we did a really deep dive into that hyperlocal data and looked at how buyers were searching in that area, we landed on a strategic list price of $625,000. Now remember, this price wasn't designed to be a ceiling, it was designed to be a magnet to pull in as many serious buyers as possible. So what happened? Well, it was a flood, an absolute flood of activity. We had 15 showings in just the first 3 days. That's the frenzy. The home was seen as this hot new property, priced right, and everybody had to see it immediately. And all that intense interest, it quickly turned into multiple offers, a bidding war, and the home sold for, get this, $655,000. So here's the kicker. By listing for less, the seller actually walked away with more than their original dream number. Why? Because the strategy created the competition needed to find the home's absolute highest value in the current market. So this really brings us to the absolute core of it all, the most important lesson from this whole thing. It really calls for a big shift in how you think about your ultimate goal when you're selling your home. See, the wrong goal, the one that gets so many people into trouble, is chasing the highest listing price. That's just a vanity metric, and it can walk you right into that stale listing trap. The right goal, the one that actually affects your life and your bank account, is to get the highest net proceeds, the final number on that check. A smart strategy is built around that goal and that goal only. So as we wrap up, I'm going to leave you with this one question to chew on. Whether you're thinking about selling next week or maybe next year, just take a second and think about your approach. Is your strategy built to chase a number that looks good on a sign? Or is it built to maximize the actual dollars you're going to take to the bank? Because the answer to that question makes all the difference in the world.